Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening and call to order the June 16, 2026 meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Melanie, would you please call the roll?
Chairman Maloney.
Here.
Ms. Andriano.
Here.
Mr. DeCamilla.
Here.
Mr. Hartwig.
Here.
Mr. Jensen.
Here.
Mr. Tayo. Mr. Wexler.
Here.
Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any items that have either been added or removed from our agenda this evening?
We do not.
Great. I'd like to mention that anyone who is here tonight and intends to address the board regarding a particular application this evening, we encourage you to do so, but do so in accordance with the town's policy of decorum of meetings of public boards. That policy is posted here in the conference room and is available at the town clerk's office and also online. And I will mention that we are going to be streaming this meeting live tonight to the Town of Greece YouTube channel. So after tonight, if you're interested in seeing a replay because you're so thrilled with tonight that you want to watch it again, you can get on YouTube and enjoy it. And finally, anyone who does receive a favorable vote of their application, we ask that you wait for 1 week from today to apply for your permits. That'll give our staff time to transcribe the minutes, convey it to the permit office, so that when you get there for your permit, you're all set and ready to go. We have no old business tonight, so we're going to go right into the new business section of the agenda. As I call the items tonight, we ask that you come forward to the podium, give us your name and address for the record, and sign in with your name and address. And then also give us a brief description as to the nature of the variance and why you're asking for it and what the format is of the request. All items on the agenda this evening have been advertised in the Daily Record, which is an official newspaper of the town of Greece, and where necessary have been referred to the state or county agencies for their comments and recommendations. With that, I move into item number 1 of new business on your agendas this evening, that of WF Elmridge 2 LLC, 390 Elmridge Center Drive, also known as 3580 Westridge Road. Is that applicant here? Great. Hi.
Good evening. Corinne Nicholas with Wegman Companies, or WF Elmridge 2 LLC. I am here just requesting or asking the board's permission to add 2 additional panel signs. We did have the Mel Connery sign, but we would like to add or at least get the variance for the Irish pub and the restaurant sign.
Very good. Ms. Adriano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you repeat your name for me, please?
Corinne Nicholas.
Corinne Nicholas, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming this evening. Okay, so let's just address the size really quick. To give me an idea of how they came to the size.
So I think the intention was, and I apologize, I do not represent the sign company when the tenant met with them. I do represent the landlord. And I think the intent was to position the sign in between or underneath those existing light sconces. So rather than having 1 large sign, they opted to go with 3.
So that they'd be illuminated and,
Right.
and so easier to read. Okay.
Correct.
If you represent the landlord, then clearly the landlord has no problem with this?
We have no issues, no.
Okay. Has there been any issue expressed by anybody else? Any other,
No other
I
tenant
don't know if
has
you've noticed.
is
notified the
questioned
other
or
tenants.
complained or has
Okay.
any other comments on it, no.
Okey doke. And I wanted to ask you about, would she be authorized to represent the conversation about the relinquishment, or does it have
Yes.
to be the tenant?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so we would normally ask that the requester here would be agreeing to relinquish the variance if it's granted, should the business be sold or closed in that event. And so that agreement would have to be signed as one of the conditions if they agree to it. So
Okay.
do you know that they would agree to such a request?
I would imagine they would, yes.
Okay, all right, and we would have an agreement, and then that would be, they would sign that as when they get their permits, right? to
New
relate.
Signs or prior signs? We don't have prior variances on this.
No, for future.
Okay.
That we would have the relinquishment on record, the
Okay.
agree to relinquish should the business
For the-
sell or close. Yeah, that, I'm just,
We can do
I'm
that.
not being very clear, but anyway, okay, so we would probably have that as a condition that we would sign for, if the business should sell or be closed, that the variance would be relinquished.
Yes,
Yeah,
understood.
okay. All right, great.
And you agree to that?
I agree to that.
Okay.
I have no other questions.
Are there any other questions from the board?
What type of signs are they?
It's an HDU sign. It's a high,
Is it-
high density.
Is it illuminated or only from the? west
Only,
wall?
only from those two sconces. It's a wooden carved sign.
Matching, of course, the McCombridge sign.
Yes.
Thank you. What for the questions?
Any other questions? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to be heard on the application of 390 Elmridge Center Drive, also known as 3580 Westridge Road, WF Elmridge 2 LLC? I see no one coming forth. Ms. Adriano, are you prepared if I close the hearing?
I sure hope so.
Then I'm going to close the public hearing and Ms. Adriano for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The application of WF Elmridge 2 LLC, represented by Ms. Corrine Nicholas at 390 Elmridge Center Drive, AKA 3580 West Ridge Road, is an unlisted action. As such, I will read the unlisted resolution in an abbreviated form. The other board members are familiar with the wording of this resolution, and the complete text will be available in the minutes of this meeting. Whereas the Board of Zoning Appeals makes the following findings. 1, according to 6 NYCRR Part 617, the implementing regulations for the State Environmental Quality Review Act under Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, also the seeker regulations, this proposal is classified as an unlisted action. 2, the Board of Zoning Appeals carefully has considered all relevant documentary, testimonial, and other evidence submitted for this proposal. 3, the Board of Zoning Appeals carefully has considered the relevant environmental impacts, facts, and conclusions contained in the EAF and in all supplemental maps, descriptions, analyses, reports, and reviews. 4, the Board of Zoning Appeals carefully has considered all advisory comments received from the town's own staff and from advisory agencies. Now, therefore, it is resolved that based on the aforementioned documentation, testimony, information, and findings, the Board of Zoning Appeals determines that the proposal will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, that the preparation of a draft environmental impact statement will not be required, and that this determination constitutes a negative declaration pursuant to the seeker regulations.
We have a motion on seekers, second by Mr. Hartwig. Any discussion? Hearing none. Melanie, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Andriano?
Yes.
Mr. Harwig?
Yes.
Mr. DeCamilla?
Yes.
Mr. Jensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Chairman Miludis?
Yes, on to the main motion, please.
On to the findings of fact. WF Elmridge 2 LLC, represented by Ms. Corrine Nicholas of 390 Elmridge Center Drive, AKA 3580 West Ridge Road, has come to the board meeting tonight, Board of Zoning Appeals meeting on June 16th, 2026, to request an area variance for an existing second building mounted sign that'll say Irish Pub, 2 feet by 7 feet by 2 inches, approximately 14.33 square feet on the east side of the building, where one sign not exceeding 50 square feet is permitted. And B, an area variance for an existing third building mounted sign says restaurant, 2 feet by 7 feet by 2 inches, approximately 14.33 square feet south side of the building, where one sign not exceeding 50 square feet is permitted. Both of these requested signs will greatly help the business and its clientele by identifying that the business is a restaurant, specifically an Irish pub, and will help the clients locate and patronize the pub. The requested size seems completely reasonable given the location and position in the plaza to allow patrons to see and read and then locate adjacent parking. The signs are both readable and attractive, and they seem like a nice addition to the space. The applicant has agreed to sign an agreement that should the business be sold or closed, that the variance, that if we grant the variance, that it would be relinquished. Therefore, I move to approve the application with the following conditions: that the applicant obtains any required town permits and that they complete the relinquishment agreement. So moved.
We have a motion with conditions, second by Mr. Hartwig. Any discussion? Hearing none. Melanie, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Andriano?
Yes.
Mr. Harwig?
Yes.
Mr. DeCamilla?
Yes.
Mr. Jensen,
Yes.
Mr. Wexler,
Yes.
Chairman Malutis.
Yes, your application has been approved as noted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Application number 2 this evening is that of Jack Brumstead of 594 Bonesteel Street.
Good evening. I'm Jack Brumstead. Like you said, 594 Bonesteel Street in Greece. I've resided there for the last 28 some odd years. Initially, we had a nice deck and a front porch put on by Chase Pickens some 25 years ago. It was a beautiful porch and a deck, but of course, over the years, painting and sanding and staining, it just got a little bit too much. And me not being as young as I used to be, I got a hold of Vinyl Outlet to see if they could replace both, which they agreed to do. The backyard deck went fine. The front yard porch was actually built over an old cement porch by Chase Pickens. Initially, we were just going to rebuild over that, but Vinyl Outlet said that some of their posts for had to be it was in the way of the cement porch, so they kind of convinced us that they had to jackhammer the cement porch down, which they did, which in a way, even though it cost me more money, I'm glad they did, because then the ledger board underneath the front porch door was completely rotted out. You can almost stick your finger right through it.
Wow.
So even though Vinyl Outlet does not touch the building per se, we had another company come in, completely redo the ledger board, which is 8 foot long. And then Vinyl Outlet came back in. They put the structure in for the front porch. And then someone came out to give us the okay on it. And even though the structure itself was okay, they just happened to be measuring it that day. And instead of a 6 by 8, because the ledger board was 8, it turned out to be an 8 by 8 front porch, which is obviously over the code. So we have to be here for the variance meeting, and here I am.
Very good. Well, thank you. Mr. DiCamillo.
Hi, thank you for coming in.
Yep.
All right, so this porch is a replacement for a pre-existing porch that was in sort of disrepair or needed extensive maintenance.
Correct.
Okay, and the 8 by 8 size and consequently being too close to the setback is sort of a result of a measuring mishap from.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Vinyl Outlet actually put in the framing as 8 by 8. It must have been going by the ledger board. I think the permit that they actually submitted here prior to them doing it was actually 8 by 6, but somehow they put in the 8 by 8. And then I wasn't aware of the second variance about the distance from the sidewalk. And the way the porch is hopefully to be built, the steps go down exactly where the initial porch was. So that's not necessarily different. So the code must be new within the last 25 years, because it's going to be ending exactly where the Chase Pickens porch ended.
Okay, so
Steps.
it's not coming any closer to the sidewalk
No.
from. Okay,
No.
all right.
From what was originally there, no.
And is that the
Just a rough estimate, that's
A
not.
rough estimate?
Not for the
Okay.
size, but that's the only picture on the Vinyl Outlet website.
Okay,
that I
that's-
could find that looks somewhat similar to
okay?
what we might be
I
having.
thought I was
looks as nice as that.
I hope so too.
I thought I was going to be able to just skip my next question. That the porch is going to match the aesthetic of the house and
Oh,
be
of course. Yeah, of
okay.
course.
Go to match it back down.
Okay. And is this what's this porch going to be made out of? Is it composite, pressure treated?
PVC,
PVC. Okay.
and the railings are, I believe, metal, black
Okay.
metal.
Okay. And do you have any plans in the future to sort of enclose this porch, to put a roof on it, walls, nothing? Okay. Okay. I don't think I have any more questions, Mr. Chairman.
Are there any other questions from the board? Go ahead.
Would this be a financial hardship for you to meet the code to move it or do any changes? Would it be a financial hardship for you?
Probably extra money because if the ledger board is 8 foot,
So the answer is yes.
yes.
Thank you.
And we have
Good
to,
answer.
Thank you.
Simple answer.
yes.
There you go.
Any other questions? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to be heard on the application of 594 Bone Steel Street? 594 Bone Steel. I see no one coming forth. Mr. DiCamillo, are you prepared if I close?
I am, Mr. Chairman.
Then I'm going to close the public hearing on 594 Bone Steel Street. Mr. DiCamillo for a motion.
Tonight, June 16th, 2026, Jack Bromstead of 594 Bone Steel Street appeared before the Board of Zoning Appeals to request an area variance for a proposed accessory structure, deck/porch, composite 8 by 8 feet for 64 square feet, to be located in the front yard of an interior lot where accessory structures, including decks, are permitted in rear yards only, and an area variance for a proposed accessory structure, deck/porch, composite 8 by 8 feet, 64 square feet, to have a proposed front setback of 32.6 feet measured from the right-of-way line of Bone Steel Street, instead of the 36.6 feet maximum established by the neighborhood average. Mr. Bromstead has lived at 594 Bone Steel Street for about 28 years now. This porch was being built as a replacement for a pre-existing porch which had gotten a bit old and would begun falling into disrepair. Due to some mismeasurement by a contractor, the size of the porch built is larger than what was initially permitted. However, the distance to the sidewalk of 32.6 feet is the same as the pre-existing porch. So there is no greater encroachment towards the right of way in this case. There are no plans to further enclose this porch. It will be styled in such a way as to match the aesthetic of the house, and to reduce the overall size of the porch to fall into compliance with the current zoning code would be a financial hardship for Mr. Bromstead. Having reviewed all the testimony and evidence as just summarized in the findings of fact, and having considered the 5 statutory factors set forth in New York State Town Law, Section 267-B, and finding that the evidence presented meets the requirements of this section, and having found that there is no significant detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community, and that the benefit to the applicant is substantial, and having found that this is a Type 2 action under SEQR regulations requiring no further action by this board, I move to approve this application with the following conditions, that all necessary permits are obtained.
We have a motion to approve, second by Mr. Wexler. Any discussion? Hearing none. Melanie, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. DiCamillo?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Ms. Andriano?
Yes.
Mr. Hartwig?
Yes.
Mr. Jensen?
Yes.
Chairman Maludis?
Yes, your application's been approved.
Thank you.
Good luck with it. Application number 3 this evening is that of Big Lou's Pizza, Joe Ferrari, 2010 Westridge Road.
Hello, my name is Joe Ferrari, address 1739 Ridgeway Avenue. Here tonight, I'm opening another restaurant in the town of Greece. Took this building and doing some extensive remodeling from the interior on up to the exterior, and I'm here tonight to get some permits for some signs.
Very good. Mr. Hartwig.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening.
Hello.
In looking at this sign, the request is for basically 123 square feet. Now, this is 140% over what code allows. Why is this sign so large? And why can't it be reduced to be closer to code?
I don't know if you've driven by in the last couple of weeks, you probably could see I'm really putting a lot into this business and this building. And I'm really trying to make this into something. It's been an eyesore for a very long time in the town of Greece on Ridge Road. So again, I'm really trying to do a lot of business out of this location, and
Ferrari's trying to say, why is it gonna be so big?
I want to get some exposure to get a lot of customers.
Okay, well, in the past, this board has granted larger signs. However, in order for us to do that, granting needs buildings or the structures were like 300, 400, 500 feet off the road where a sign of a bigger nature would be necessary. Now, looking at this location, I mean, you've got basically the sidewalk and then the building. I mean, you've got to be basically 50 feet from Ridge Road. And I just don't see why the sign needs to be this big.
Well, unfortunately, over the years, obviously, Ridge Road has been eaten up closer and closer to these buildings that are up and down Ridge Road. So unfortunately, it's become that close
What
to the
he's saying
road.
is it's so close to the road, why is it gotta be so close, so big, so close to the road? Can you make it a little bit smaller or not?
We could probably go a little bit
That's
smaller.
what it is.
Yes,
Yes, that's what I'm wondering, can it be made smaller?
yes.
Okay,
These
how,
aren't prefab signs, right? These
No,
are-
custom-made signs.
so if we were to go smaller, I mean, would you need time to look at how far the sign could be reduced?
You need a sign person to look at this and see.
No,
what-
I could come up with that.
Okay, well, once again, the code is 50 feet. What can we look at as far as the reduction then?
I think the width, if you could pull up the rendering of the width, I can't see the height.
It's 4 feet by
30.83.
by 30 feet.
What if we compromised on 36 tall?
What is that now?
It's 3 feet.
3 feet
high.
tall.
So now we're looking at 90 feet?
Yes.
And it's a long name, right? So it's a longer sign, so.
Correct. So we need that length.
Are you gonna have, where's parking gonna be?
Parking's on top, and then we created a large parking area around the back.
So you will have some spots in front of the sign here.
So then there would be some
Because there's
cars.
not, I don't,
Not really. It's more of it's a drive-through. It's more on the right.
It's a
Okay.
drive-through.
Correct. It's more on the right
Drive
side.
up, pick up, run out.
Yes,
so that'll remain clear in front of the sign.
correct.
Okay.
Your employees more so.
Are going to be parking in the back.
I remember the planning board meeting.
Correct.
So would there be any cars parked where that big loose sign is, but underneath the sign? That's why you would need it there for that height?
We're doing about 99% of to go.
So
It's
possibly cars are gonna pull up in front of the sign, running, grab and run.
correct.
So there's a possibility we get a bigger sign, these cars might be blocking.
Blocking the sign. Correct.
That's what I'm thinking is that the sign could get blocked at this size.
Right.
By, trucks and, my truck would block that.
Are these light, does this sound like light bulb, like a light bulb sign? Like-
Correct. LED bulb.
Like an old time?
Yes, sir. Old school looking sign for an old school pizzeria.
So these letters now, I know you've given us a plan, but for the record, are these individual letters going to be attached to the building or a raceway?
A raceway.
And are they going to be illuminated?
Yes.
Is that interior illumination?
So it's like it's an old school LED light bulb.
Okay. And what would the hours of illumination be?
Probably from, when it gets dark, obviously in the winter, from probably 5 to 11 p.m., 5 p.m. to 11
Be
p.m.
time of operation.
Correct.
So it'd be according to the hours of operation.
Yes.
And then once again, you own this building, correct?
Not yet. I'm a tenant right now, but I'll be owning it in the next couple of months.
So then, there are some previous variances with the prior tenant. Are you in the position where you can relinquish those previous variances if this variance is granted?
I
We
think,
have authorization for Joe to speak on the owner's behalf.
Okay. So then you would relinquish the variances from the previous tenant?
yes.
So it'll be Mr. Ferrari.
Yes,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, just out of curiosity, are there any plans or any indications for you to build a pylon sign out in front?
No,
There's no room. is there?
no room.
I believe that there's already a pylon sign that was approved for that, which goes back quite some time.
Relinquish that.
And it's like 1 foot off of the road. So as part of the approval process, I'd like to try to get that one withdrawn,
So you'd relinquish that also, that
Yes.
variance for this pylon?
Yes,
and there'd be no pylon sign.
I would.
So you could still have a freestanding sign, just it would have to be up to code now. That's getting rid of those variants.
Okay.
Okay, so once again, let's summarize what Ed, you're reducing the size of the sign now from 123 feet down to 90. It's going to be 30 feet by length and 3 feet wider in height. The sign is a raceway situation where the letters are on the raceway with an LED illumination. The hours of illumination will be would be the hours of the store operation.
I would suggest going a half hour before closing and a half hour before opening.
Perfect.
All right,
It's still advertising, that's why.
Half hour after opening?
Half hour before opening
opening,
and a half
after
hour
closing.
after closing.
Okay, yeah.
and then once again, you will relinquish all previous signage variances along with the variance for that pylon sign
Yes.
that's been in the past.
And I'm not sure that pylon sign was a variance when it was put in, but it was approved for a sign because Westridge Road got expanded, now puts it like a foot off of the
Or just
road.
relinquish all of the previously approved signage applications.
Signage application.
Signage applications.
And you'll get this approved.
Yes.
And then what is the size of the sign that's above the door? Because that's also under the calculation.
That is 51.5 by 47.9. That's up to 50, I'm sorry, 51 inches. So 52.
No. Yeah, what's the total square footage?
I have to figure
That's
it
the
out.
permitted side.
That's the permitted one, yeah.
It says, do you know what the size of that sign is?
Whatever was on that app.
And I'm a little confused, when he talks about LED, and you're talking about old style light bulbs,
Like an Edison bulb, but the newer version is more LED. But it
more
will still-
LED, but
it'll
it's gonna
still-
be a light bulb.
Correct.
So if someone came along and wanted to screw around with the sign, all they do is start unscrewing bulbs or,
They're putting a clear piece of plexiglass over each letter so you can't touch it.
so you can't get to the sign,
Correct.
okay? That's still pretty significant in size,
This one's 16 square feet.
16?
So what are we in total now with the two signs?
90 square feet.
106.
106.
106.
With the two sides.
Oh, yeah.
So the sign above the doorway is saying is 26 feet
No,
or 20
16.
16.
or 16?
About 16.
Yeah, and just to note, because I was a little confused when I was looking at this too, what we measured was the back of it, right? So we used this number.
All
We
right.
didn't use this number, yeah.
Right.
Same thing for
Mhm.
So it's really not that big.
this side over here. We used this 48 instead of
Correct.
the letter part. If that helps at all.
Well, yeah, that's because the background is
Right.
part of the sign,
Right,
and that's the
that's why
way
we
we
used
measure.
it, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, just to go back to the Big Lou's Pizza sign, you've got the 30 feet in length. Is there any chance of maybe making that a little shorter?
Unfortunately, I don't think so because of, the letters and how long the name is.
And keep in mind, you got both sides of Ridge Road.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not just the one side, not the west side, it's east and west side.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Are there any other questions from the board? Do we have any comments from the county or from the state on this?
We do not.
Any neighborhood notification notices or anything?
No.
No. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to be heard on the application of 2010 Westridge Road, Big Lou's Pizza? I see no one coming forth. Mr. Hartwig, are you prepared if I close?
I am, Mr. Chairman.
Then I'm going to close the public hearing on 2010 Westridge Road. Mr. Hartwig for a moment.
Big Lou's Pizza - Joe Friari, located at 2010 Westridge Road, has submitted an area variance for a second building mounted sign, Big Lou's Pizza, 4 feet by 30-83 feet, approximately 123.2 feet, where one sign shall not exceed 50 square feet is permitted. I recognize this as an unlisted action. As such, I will read this resolution in an abbreviated form. The other board members are familiar with the wording of this resolution. The complete text will be available in the minutes of this meeting. Whereas the Board of Zoning Appeals makes the following findings. 1, according to 6 NYCRR Part 617, the implementing regulations for the State Environmental Quality Review Act, under Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, the SEQA regulations, this proposal is classified as an unlisted action. 2, the Board of Zoning Appeals carefully has considered all relevant documentary, testimonial, and other evidence submitted for this proposal. 3, the Board of Zoning Appeals carefully has considered all relevant environmental impacts, facts, and conclusions contained in the EAF and in all supplemental maps, descriptions, analysis, reports, and reviews. 4, the Board of Zoning Appeals carefully has considered all advisory comments received from the town's own staff and from advisory agencies. Now, therefore, it is resolved that based on the aforementioned documentation, testimony, information, and findings, the Board of Zoning Appeals determines that this proposal will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, that the preparation of a draft environmental impact statement will not be required, and that this determination constitutes a negative declaration pursuant to these SEQA regulations.
We have a motion on seeker, second by Ms. Adriano. Any discussion? Hearing none, Melanie, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hartwig?
Yes.
Ms. Andriano?
Yes.
Mr. DeCamilla?
Yes.
Mr. Jensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Chairman Malukis?
Yes, I'm with the main motion.
This evening, Joe Friari came before the board relative to the sign situation, relative to the size. And discussion commenced about a reduction, and Mr. Ferrari agreed to reduce the sign to a length of 30 feet, but a height of 3 feet, resulting in 90 square feet. These letters will be not affixed to the building, but will be affixed to a raceway. The signs will be illuminated through LED-type bulbs. The hours of illumination will be 1/2 hour before opening and 1/2 hour before or after closing. Mr. Ferrari also has agreed to relinquish all previous signage variance applications. And he has no further plans to install any exterior signage relative to placement by the road. I move to approve this application with the following conditions: that Mr. Ferrari obtain all necessary building permits and signage permits, that the sign shall not exceed 90 square feet, in other words, 30 feet in length and 3 feet in height, and that he will relinquish all previous signage variance applications relative to this property.
We have a
So moved.
motion with conditions, second by Ms. Adriano on discussion. It's not signage variance, it's all previous signage approvals,
Approvals or
which
application?
includes a freestanding sign out by the street.
Did you put the time frames on that by chance?
Time-
Hours?
No, I said half hour before opening and a half hour after closing.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, would you, well, we got a second on it. Ms. Adriano on the second. We have no other comments. Melanie, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Harway,
Yes.
Ms. Andriano,
Yes.
Mr. DeCamilla,
Yes.
Mr. Jensen,
Yes.
Mr. Wexler,
Yes.
Chairman Malutis.
Yes, your application has been approved with the conditions noted.
Good luck.
Thank you.
When do you expect to open?
September 1st.
Good.
Thank you, guys. Have a great
Building's looking
evening.
nice.
Thank you.
Application number 4 this evening is that of Morgan Britton LLC, 3640 through 3660 Dewey Avenue.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. It's nice to see everyone. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Betsy Brugg. I am an attorney here on this application for Morgan Britton LLC. I have to say, I feel a little old being here on this application. We're here to request a use variance. I think I worked closely with the town back in 2012 when this very empty former Wegmans building that sat vacant on Dewey Avenue was acquired by Morgan Britton with these big plans to bring this very large, empty, big box building to life. So we worked closely with the town at the time. Frank Burgess here tonight. He was involved, original developer on the project. And I have a whole team here to answer questions about it. But when they acquired this property, there was a demand for some big box uses, and they secured Big Lots as the anchor tenant, followed by Goodwill to come into the property, and they brought the property to life. And part of that process involved working closely with the town to advance the town's vision for the Dewey Avenue mixed-use corridor. So we went through a process of, they invested a significant amount of money, not just in acquiring the property, but in redeveloping and bringing the property to life by building all the small uses along the frontage that really advanced the town's vision and hopes for that area by building some small pedestrian-friendly, village-oriented type of uses. The hope was that that would attract additional kind of expansion of that idea along Dewey. That hasn't necessarily materialized. There's been a lot of changes in the economy, in the nature and location of development in the town of Greece, in the retail market, and they've really struggled. The building itself is what we're here to talk about tonight. That building, since acquiring it, despite marketing efforts, which we're happy to talk about and giving you some written material on, has actually never been fully occupied. There's always been a vacancy, at least of around 9,000 feet. So if you remember, currently, the only use in the plaza is, I'm going to get their name wrong, the plasma business. They're still there, CSL. Yeah, I always get the letters mixed up. I'm dyslexic. So, Big Lots was great. They were an anchor. They were a great use there. They went bankrupt. They moved out. Shortly after that, Goodwill also moved out. They ended up downsizing from their, large retail operation to a small donation center up on the frontage. That space only became available because AT&T terminated and moved out. And Goodwill moved into that space for significantly less rent, but they filled the space. So they've been working really hard to keep the property viable, to keep it occupied. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of challenges that have come with that large building. The building itself is 75,400 square feet. It was not built as a shopping center. It was built as a single big box use. So it's approximately 225 feet in depth. I actually remember this conversation from back in 2012, that there is challenges. Only larger retailers need that space. There's, a small 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 square foot tenant doesn't want a 225 foot deep space. Essentially you'd be creating a bunch of bowling alleys. We're prepared to talk a little bit about some of the ways that this property has been evaluated and marketed I gave you a lot of material, but I'll kind of go through some of it. So there's been a lot of challenges, and essentially they're losing money on the property. We did submit an income and expense statement demonstrating kind of the financial situation. They have tried to market the property ever since it was acquired to fill all of the space in the building. It just has never materialized. The property also, as probably not uncommon for Wegmans, when Wegmans sold the property, they also attached restrictive covenants to the property. So obviously, some of the larger uses you'll see out in neighborhoods now are grocery stores, an Aldi here or there. There's uses that sell groceries. There's pharmacies that have popped up. Wegmans put a restrictive covenant on the property that prohibits groceries, pharmacies, and certain types of uses that sell a lot of prepared, a large percentage of which is prepared foods. So we're starting with a situation where they can't find large users for the building. They just frankly don't exist in the market. Since 2012, when we were here, development in the town has actually shifted to other areas of the town. There's, development in the Latta Long Pond area that didn't exist back in the day. So there's a lot of competition and other neighborhoods that just are a bigger draw for retail uses. So as far as the application itself, as the board knows, there's a pretty high standard of proof that we need to meet in order to obtain a use variance. In this case, what we are here for is to request a use variance to allow a climate-controlled self-storage use for the large building. The town law requires that we meet 4 criteria. The first of which is the financial hardship, and the one I'm going to spend the most time on, so I'm going to come back to it. The second criteria is that the hardship be unique to the property. That one's kind of easy, so I'm going to hit that one first. This is a very unique property. There's not another property in the neighborhood like it. It is a vacant, big box, former Wegmans store. You will not find another property with these existing conditions. Not only is a large building that has limited viability, it has a big parking lot, and now we've developed the perimeter with these small, wonderful uses, but that now also, prevent some of the visibility of some of the frontage of that building, since it's so far set back from the road and now has, other users in front of the main building. The third criteria is whether we're going to impact the character, essential character of the neighborhood. So this is a relatively mixed use area. While we are in the Dewey Avenue mixed use, we are adjacent actually to more intense retail. The Walmart Plaza is a general business zoning. The property behind the building at issue is actually zoned residential. We have a multifamily zoning and then a single family beyond that. So it's a pretty mixed use area in terms of a zoning perspective. And the proposal is a self-storage type use. I'm sure you're familiar with it from, it's become a somewhat common use that serves a lot of neighborhoods in the community, not just in Greece, but everywhere. Apparently people have a lot of stuff to store. We have a problem parting with our stuff. So it is a use that has high demand, particularly to proximity to residential areas. The use itself is a very low traffic use. It is a discrete type of a use. It is a use that is primarily inside of a building and really does not, while it doesn't generate, significant pedestrian type of activity, it also doesn't generate any of the negative impacts that you find with, more intense commercial types of uses. There's no smells, there's no noise, there's very little traffic. You really don't see a whole lot. The proposal is to have an operation that will be managed by one of the national leaders in self-storage management. So they're very experienced. There's a lot of technology built into these operations these days. Access is now through, passcodes on your phone and electronic access and things like that. There are also a lot of, cameras and security built into these types of operations now. As there's more and more technology, these things just, run better. So I think we're not going to impact the character of the neighborhood in any way. If anything, what we're doing is preventing having a large, obsolete, big vacant building on this property. And then the final criteria is whether the hardship is self-created. And I can talk again more about that, but the hardship is a result of essentially the economic conditions, the physical conditions of the building, the size of the building, the way that the building was constructed for a single user. They've been able to have a couple tenants in there. However, it is not suitable to divide the property up, and I'll give you a little more data on that. So we believe that the hardship is not at all self-created. It is a result of, changing economic conditions. There's no longer a demand for these big box spaces. There's a lot of competition. When there is a large retailer, there are other neighborhoods with more traffic that are just more desirable in town and attracting more of the commercial development, such as Ridge Road, such as the Latta Long Pond area. There's just other areas that have become kind of more central to retail uses. So what have I given you on the financial hardship? So I've given you an income and expense statement kind of demonstrating that the properties have been generating losses. I've given you a restrictive covenant that's on record that documents, Wegmans' rights to the prohibition on grocery stores and pharmacies. I've given you a letter from Mike Palumbo, who is here tonight. Mike is a commercial real estate broker with many, many years of experience, who's handled, many of the more complex transactions and many of the commercial properties, not just in the Rochester area, but far beyond. So this letter kind of documents his marketing efforts. The property has been professionally marketed with a professional team and a marketing program, not just by Mike. Mike's had, I think, the last 15 or 16 months, well over a year. But prior to that, FSI, Dave Merrick, has been involved with the property for the past 8 years, I believe. Similarly, marketing it through LoopNet, through all the professional tools and instruments and programs that are, commonly used to market commercial real estate. I'm happy to go through or let Mike answer questions about the marketing efforts, but
What was the purchase price back in 12?
I can, hold on one second, if you bear with me. I actually brought up the closing statement for you. Back in the day, and I'll submit this so you can have this, they paid, the purchase price was $2.25 million. However,
I want to hear you say it, doesn't revenue say it.
Yeah, it's $2.25 million, but if you look at the closing statement, they actually invested in some about, at least, this is showing 5.3 million, but it actually was more than that because they not only acquired the property, but they invested money to improve and upgrade and,
I want to know what the purchase price.
yeah. So I'll give you one of these.
What was that?
2012, March of 2012. Yeah, they bought a big vacant building, so they had to, make it suitable. They do a lot of build out.
Knowing there was a restriction on there that you can only use it for certain uses outside.
Correct.
the scope.
But back in the day, Big Lots was a viable use, Goodwill was a viable use. They were able to get, good tenants for the
Is it been
space.
listed for sale or just for rent?
Have they listed it, you mean currently? Oh, yeah, they've been trying to rent it
I
continuously.
didn't say that, I said for sale.
Has it? Yes, it's listed for both.
What's the purchase price they're listing it at?
Do you have a price on it? 7? It's currently for sale for 7 million. However, this, when they purchased it, was a vacant Wegmans building. It did not include
It's my neighborhood, I know. it.
the well now, it didn't include the, the store on the frontage. They've invested quite a bit of money. This closing statement shows 5.3, but that does not include the Dairy Queen that got, built there. There's been a lot of investment to improve and really create a business center out of what otherwise was just a Wegmans building. So here, I'll let you have this. so you can-
But the restricted covenant would pass with the sale, would it still?
Correct. But there's been more than $2.5 million spent on the property. They've spent $6-7 million at least on the property.
Has anybody ever approached Wegmans to try to buy out that restricted covenant? Well,
I will say for the
you can-
record,
you
yes.
can talk about that.
The property owner has attempted to get Wegmans to release the restrictive covenant, and they have declined. I will say there's also a couple other restrictions. These are kind of minor relative to the Wegmans, but typically when you have retail tenants come into a shopping center, very often they will require exclusivity. So for example, in the DMU district, we could have some medical uses if it was a viable area. Now, I'll start by saying medical uses tend to locate where other medical uses are. There's neighborhoods that accumulate, where medical goes. But that said, Well Now is located in the property, and part of their lease requirements is that there not be another similar type of a use. they don't want to be next to your doctor's office because the purpose of a well now is to be available when you need an urgent care, right? So there are other restrictions.
Those are restrictions the landlord and the tenant worked out together that they're aware of, correct?
Correct. I didn't throw those in. They're not even mentioned in the application, but I would say they are typical of all retail type of properties. You will find it. It's not every tenant requires it, but it's not uncommon. The plasma operation doesn't want another blood draw facility there, but there's not, blood draw facilities on every corner in town. So
That's the landlord restricting himself with renting out to these tenants and further restrictions on his own property.
correct. If you want to fill the space, you got to make a deal with the tenant, though, don't you? I mean, tenants are not paying rent, and So-
I'm sorry. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. So I will tell you, I think we did cover quite a bit in the submission in terms of the marketing efforts and the viability of the space. A specific question was asked. Lisa sent me an email with a bunch of questions. A lot of those questions kind of were already covered, but I'm happy to revisit any of that. But what we did do is we did go ahead and get you a construction estimate from FSI. This is a hypothetical situation on what would be involved if we attempted to renovate the building, remodel the building in order to accommodate smaller tenants. See, part of the problem is the building wasn't built for multiple tenants. So the utilities aren't designed for multiple tenants. There aren't demising walls. There aren't bathrooms. The depth of the building is too deep. I actually remember this from back in 2012 when we talked about what kind of tenants could occupy the building. When you have this deep building, what do you do with the excess depth? I believe it's 70 feet is what a typical, 3, 4, 5,000 square foot retailer would want. What do you do with the excess depth? We'd actually talked about whether it could be demolished back in 2012. So this is an estimate from FSI. This is a hypothetical situation because this shows if you were to divide the building into 5 spaces for 10,000 square foot tenants. Now, there aren't a lot of 10,000 square foot tenants out in the marketplace. They just don't exist. Really, the kinds of tenants that go into neighborhood shopping centers are 3,000 or 4,000 square feet. So this is actually a conservative estimate, but it actually tells you all of the various improvements that would have to be made to the property, rough estimates of what would be involved. And we're talking about a, $4 to $5 million expense. That would be to create a strip plaza without providing a solution of what to do with the additional depth on the building. So knocking down that additional depth would involve refinishing the back of the building, resurfacing the parking lot, probably coming through a process with the town of Greece, and probably enhancing the landscaping. And, there's some design that would be involved in doing that. And you're not going to find a retail user who wants to use the back of the building. You're not going to find a permitted use that wants 30,000 square feet in the back of a building. And on top of that, if you had a user back there, that would prevent the frontage tenants from having back doors out to a loading area. So I thought that would be helpful for you to have for the record. So we have given you that. Let's see what else. I will stop there. So I think we've demonstrated the financial hardship of the property. It is unique to the property. It is a unique hardship. It is a unique property. It is not self-created. The hardship arises directly from the property itself. I'm happy to answer any questions. Frank's here, Dave's here, Mike's here. And I can tell you a little about the self-storage, I guess I should say. It's all, we described the operation, but it's your typical climate-controlled self-storage.
I'm going to ask Mr. Wexler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good
Yeah.
evening.
Nice
So
to see you.
you went through quite a few things, and I just have a few questions to
Sure.
ask you on this. Now, the Big Lot, approximately when did they move out of there?
They moved out in 2025, but they went bankrupt, I think, in 2024.
What month in 2025?
March, I think, March. I believe March. They stopped paying rent in February.
Tell you what, get there too, get you can't talk
Sure.
on the microphone.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Identify
Okay.
yourself.
All right,
Sounds
so,
like
so
you
it's
didn't have a lot of
been
answers,
a little,
If you give me a second, I can get you some details.
okay, that space has been a little over a year, basically.
Frank and Berger.
Hey, Frank.
Nice to see everybody pleasantly. They stopped paying rent. They filed and then they stopped paying rent in February.
Okay.
And part of, they actually were gonna retake that space back, but then in the workout, it didn't, everything went, so.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a little over a year, almost a year and a half for them. And then the Goodwill store, when were they, did they vacate?
I think they left a month later,
Okay,
about a month later.
They termed out on their lease,
got it.
and obviously we've moved them up here to,
Yeah, the new other
Run
location.
that by me again. You moved up to another location?
no, they moved
They moved?
to another location.
To downsize.
Up in the mall.
I think you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they're over at the mall. Okay, but the, what is it, CSI or whatever that is? it's-
Plasma.
The plasma place is still there, okay. Now, are they planning on, are they willing to stay there?
They have 4 years left on their lease.
Okay, so there is one tenant there. So there's still a possibility you can get two tenants on either side then.
Well, we've had the one space on the side that's about approximately 9,500 square feet.
Okay.
And that has remained raw since the day we took in
Okay.
2012. We've never been able to fill that small space.
Okay. Now, did you guys negotiate the terms when the building was purchased from Wegmans?
What do you mean
The
terms?
terms,
You mean
like
the
the
restrictions?
like the restrictions, like you can't put, like for the life of the building or whatever, you can't put another grocery store in there? Who would negotiate something that ridiculous?
I think that's a Wegmans standard.
Well, I would think that you would have like a,
So,
after so many years, because that's kind of, that just, it makes, it create, you, by signing that agreement, you've created this hardship on your own.
Well, let me comment on that and kind of help you because I've been in the retail business for 40 years,
Okay.
right? I grew up working for the guys who started retail. When we bought the building,
Mhm.
we actually, the first contract was $1 million more than we paid for it, okay?
Yep.
And we went back to Ralph Rutero, who was the head of real estate and worked for Bob Wegman and was very instrumental in helping us get the price down. We got the price down because we had two tenants in our pocket,
Mhm.
because that's what we did. We had Big Lots and we had Dairy Queen. I'm sorry, Well Now.
Well,
So I had credit instruments to purchase the property with, right? So that's how we negotiated that.
okay,
And when you do a deal with Wegmans,
Yeah.
and by the way, I've done 3 or 4, I bought 3 or 4 of their properties. And one of the properties we bought was in Syracuse, and that just doesn't, that doesn't fly with them. That's their
Right.
business, groceries.
Yeah.
So the
Got it.
reason why we bought it was we had tenants. We thought we could backfill it and, redevelop it.
the economic conditions at the time were different, but I'll read you directly from the restrictive covenant. So it prevents supermarkets, pharmacies, businesses in which the sale of food or for off-premises consumption comprises more than 25% of the gross area. But I will say, they specifically negotiated out of this restaurants, convenience stores, dollar stores, and discount rate retailers such as Mr. Seconds, Ollie's, and Big Lots. They bought this property to put Big Lots in it. You know, they had tenants.
So
You
I,
bought it with a restriction that you knew about that would limit you to what you could use the property for.
the
The
retail,
answer is yes.
yes, the retail, yeah, but the retail philosophy and how the retailers work since COVID has changed 150%. It's done a U-turn. Now, I will tell you, I had grocery store outlet, I had Chinese or Asian market that wanted to go there. I went to Wegmans. I went to them. I said, guys, you got to help me out here.
Yeah.
No help.
Let me ask,
But I will say, it's a hardship today. When they bought the property, there were viable users for larger spaces and buildings. They were able to get a Big Lots. The market has changed. Those big box users that used to exist, there's less and less of them. and they're choosing to go to other locations. That's a change in the market conditions. That's even a change in the town of Greece and the development trends in the town of Greece.
What about a restaurant?
Restaurants are permitted, but you're not going to find a restaurant to fill a building of this size.
Well, I mean.
And they're not a
portion of it.
straight permitted use. They'd still have to go through a approval process with the town. Yeah. But they've marketed, I should say the property has been marketed without any restriction. They have looked for entertainment uses. They have
Yeah.
tried educational uses. They have
That's
looked
what
for anything creative that would fill the space.
You-
They did not buy property to have it empty.
There's, educational, because like we got Bryant Stratton over on Long Pond Road, and MCC Golisano has his business center. Have you tried approaching any of those places to try to get an
We can
educational
speak to that.
facility there?
Hi, Mike Palumbo for Cathedral Oaks. I'm the broker representing the owners of the property. We had BOCES out there.
Yeah.
And they looked at it once or twice.
Because it was a school, it was Britton Road School.
Well, it's
Many,
far
many
cry
years
from
ago.
Britton Road,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
But,
location.
yeah,
I mean, that
we-
takes me back a little bit. Ages.
we did have BOCES there and they did look at it. But there's not a lot of educational schools that are looking in the northern portion of Greece. They want to be closer to the population base. And as you get closer to the lake, your population base decreases, of course. So moving up to Ridge Road, moving out to Long Pond and Ridgeway, Long Pond and Latta, that's where the shift is. And so a lot of these retailers are focused on moving that way along with the educationals. But there's not a lot of them. I mean, there's not a lot of people out there looking for spaces of this size. And if they are, they're looking for a more populated area.
Well, your own letter states that it's the restriction that's causing a big part of this problem.
No, that's not true. So hold on. Groceries is one component.
But it's
There's
it's
plenty of other
allowable
retailers
use.
out there.
It's an allowable use underneath the code.
It's not allowable use with the deed restriction,
That
but
I agree with you on, but that's a deed restriction that was known when purchased.
yeah, but that doesn't make the property worth any less money.
We're talking
There's
about a use variance, not the value of the property.
well, but the fact of the matter is that when they bought the property, they didn't think that they were going to need to put another grocery store in there. They had Big Lots, they had Goodwill, they had CLS, they had plenty of valuable tenants pre-COVID. The market's shifted, Big Lots went bankrupt, Goodwill, you would think Goodwill would want to stay in that area because it's densely populated. They moved up to Ridge Road. So-
I want to comment on that. You know what, he'll work with you, he'll tell you this. You know what Goodwill's biggest problem was with leaving there? They would have kept both stores there. Crime and the homeless people in the back over there. That was their number one thing. There was shoplifting that was out of control there, and they just couldn't police it and couldn't manage it because they're not that kind of people. So that's why they went up. They were going to keep both stores. We had them talked into keeping both stores, and we were actually going to give them a rent reduction, but that it just got too out of control and they couldn't.
I think we're focusing too much on the deed restriction, though. I mean, grocery's not the end all here. There were plenty of other retailers.
It's a use variance, so there's certain thing and criteria that Ms. Broad has got to reach before you even get there.
Right.
Can you
Right.
repeat
But
that?
it is the hardship of the property. The town does not want to have a big vacant, big box building, I
We gotta
believe.
get around- Even though you keep
Right.
saying it's not self-created, the board's got to get around that issue first, right?
But
That's the number one thing.
You just
So
said
it-
there are many other uses, so let's
That are
talk
not-
about some of those other uses
There-
besides something that's against the code.
Well, we're not I see what you, well, we've been marketing it to every
Yeah.
retailer that exists, and they've said no. It's not where they want to be. They want to be where the population base is.
Let's take back, you mentioned medical, but WellNow will object to that, so could they maybe move into that space as part of it?
Why would they move out of their building?
I
That
mean,
doesn't make any
it's
sense.
gonna hurt, it's hurting the ability to market that to medical users.
The
Which again is
but
self-created.
the DMU zoning, we worked with the town to develop these frontage uses because that is what the code calls for. And at the time, it was recognized that this building was a challenge, but they went into it with tenants because at the time that they acquired this building, it was very viable to try to have larger uses. That's what they had. Big Lots, they had Goodwill. Many of the national retailers that are looking for spaces like, oh, well, now They have requirements for the space that they occupy. They're not going to just fill some, they would rather go to another neighborhood than fill a building that doesn't meet their requirements.
But when Well Now, Dairy Queen, AT&T, the remodeling of Taco Bell, the usage of the Walmart Plaza with everything closer to the street, that was the whole key of the Dewey Avenue Mixed Corridor that we talked about all those years ago. And the idea, and I understand where you're coming from, and that's what that whole area was, and you built it up, it hit the nail right on the head. But what's happened in that neighborhood, it's changed from when I grew up there in 1964 to today. It's changed dramatically, and I think that how does Mr. Palumbo try to get tenants to fit the need, even if you take the covenant out of this, how do you find the people to fill that void of all that space? And I think in my opinion, I know you said we've done this. Is there some documentation saying, hey, we've had this out for sale, or we've had to talk to these people? Is there documentation out there that kind of gives us a little a background of where
That
you've
was the
been?
question I was asking earlier. You said you had it listed for 7 million. Has there been any offers, anything along that line since
No.
you listed it?
No, none.
No big lowball.
We had one national group that looked at it, signed a non-disclosure agreement, and we never heard from them again. And that was about eight or 9 months ago. I will say, and if you go back to small shop space, we want to start to talk about small shop space for a second. Two things. One, there's 9,500 square feet in that building that's been vacant with a dirt floor since day one. Since day one, since the day they renovated, there's 9,500 square feet that's been vacant forever.
What do you mean by dirt floor?
There's a dirt floor. It's never been finished. Never had to pour the concrete because they didn't have a tenant for it.
Well, when we remodeled and when we gutted Wegmans out, we had to take the floors out because that's where all the coolers are in there.
I'm trying to understand.
But, well, I'm just trying to say.
But
they
it's
were
dirt.
renovating. It's dirt. I could tell you that we, Flom Management Company I run, we own the corner of Dewey and Stone Road, or we did. We just sold it. And we've got small shop spaces in there. I've got a 9,000 square foot space. I've got a 2,200 square foot space. I've got the Dutch Mill, all vacant. We've had them, it's been in the Flom family for 40 years. We just auctioned it off because we couldn't fill it. Couldn't fill the small shop space. So.
How does the Dewey Avenue Mixed Use Corridor, is there a statistical data not only from the town or from your expertise? How much square footage is available for sale in this Dewey Avenue Mixed Corridor use? And I'm not sure if the town has that or you may have it. Are we looking at 100,000 square feet that is available from Ladder Road up to the city line?
Well, I don't think anything. I don't think Benderson's selling. I don't think Simonetti is selling.
Vacant property.
I believe leasing, I'm saying leasing.
Oh, he said sale. I'm sorry, you said sale.
I'm sorry, leasing.
So-
His question.
Yeah, I don't think
I know what
Benderson.
you meant.
Yeah, leasing, I mean.
Dewey
it's
Avenue.
Dewey
What
Street.
is, what is
purple.
vacant that's
It's
stuck
not
out
the
that area?
Walmart.
No, I understand. So you're going from Ladder Road up to like Stone Road?
Let's go.
You've got a few vacant spaces here, there, but they're all smaller spaces. There's nothing
We're
large.
looking at less than, we're looking at, quote unquote, mom and pop type of.
Correct.
Operation, 2,500 square foot.
Yes, sir.
area, But nothing.
Nothing large. This is the largest piece in the area.
My question to staff is, if we look at the town, how much vacant leased spots are available? How much is available in the mall, in other areas, if we're in the West Ridge Road corridor, and where else there may be?
You've got Stone Ridge, very vacant, just
Stone Ridge is
sold,
vacant.
just sold.
But they're also filling some of that space now, but it's nothing with inside the plaza itself, it's all the outside.
Oh, no, the plaza is quite vacant.
Yeah, the plaza's vacant.
I've walked through it. We were one of the potential buyers for it. And
What
There's-
is marketing for per square foot? I don't think that came-
For lease, we're asking $12. I mean, and we would take an $8 deal. We were trying to get $8 to $12, just depended on how many square feet, the
What's size
largest.
of the roofs in there?
I'm sorry.
Height of the roofs.
They're just,
You do stone, I'm sorry, you Stonebridge Place is also yours?
no, but we walked through it as one of the potential buyers a few months ago. A group out of New York City just purchased it. I actually met with them in Las Vegas at a trade show a few weeks ago. They were looking for help.
I want to go back to Randy's question. I asked earlier today the town to give me some information about the very point that you touched on. Northgate Plaza appears right now to be 95% occupied. It looks like, based on the intelligence we have, is it your property is about 57% occupied right now? With,
The total or the building itself?
We have 65,000 suite, 64 and some change available out of 75 in the big building. Now, you might want to include the well now
yeah,
and the Dairy Queen in there, but those are really out parcels.
The building is not, I think 19%.
and the total for the Dory Avenue mixed-use district, the town shows about 86% is occupied in total.
I would agree on that, but you're also looking at nothing big but small.
You know, Walmart's not part of that.
Well,
It's zone, Walmart's zone general business.
but it's part of the corridor.
It's a different zoning, but yes.
It's part
It's
of
a
the,
less restrictive zoning.
Part of the corridor. He wants to find out what's the DMU and what's.
I mean,
so the question, I got a couple of them. Although Wegman said no to you, is there a legal challenge you could propose to get that restrictive covenant removed?
If the town wants to condemn them and help me go, I'd be happy to pose that, but I don't think anybody wants to fight the Wegmans.
No, I'm not talking about the board or the town doing it. I'm
No,
talking
this is a
about-
deed restriction that can't be removed without going through eminent domain.
It has to go through.
Have you looked at 3300 Monroe Avenue? I know that's not in Greece, but that is a very large building.
Building?
Yeah,
It's-
3,300.
It's got a whole bunch of different
It's a
businesses,
two-story
martial arts
two-story
place.
office building.
It's two-story, it has offices, but it also has other uses throughout the building. I know there's like a martial arts place, there's a
60 foot high.
jujitsu school in there, there's a Sylvan Learning Center.
I'm very familiar with Gray Woods building.
Yeah, yes,
I put Sylvan in there
yeah, so.
many years ago.
So, yeah, I mean, this, I'm thinking would be an ideal space for
The-
something like
the-
that.
You have the cost to do that, though. It's almost $6 million.
So the challenge is not the frontage of the front of it. The challenge is the 225-foot depth.
Depth,
of the
yes.
building, is the depth. So if you said, you know what, we're gonna tear this thing down, we're gonna take it to the ground, how much would that cost? And what would be the cost to build something to meet the needs?
that would not be code compliant because you cannot build, this is the Dewey Avenue corridor. You have to build in accordance with the regulations. That's why we have buildings up on the front.
So,
That's part of the issue. This building is a pre-existing, non-conforming building.
so you can, but if you tore it down,
But you can't build on the frontage. There's already buildings on the frontage.
I can't tear it down. Number one, I have existing debt on the building.
okay.
Number two, I have no credit or no instrument to go out and get refinanced or a tenant. Why I'm here is because I have a tenant.
So
I
that-
finally found a
So
use.
that would be so my question is, and I hope you didn't take it wrong way, please.
No.
I'm just asking, if you tore it down, there's a whole lot of issues by tearing it down causes a whole lot of other issues.
Correct.
There's the cost of new construction. There's the cost of utilities. There's the cost of everything, plus the cost that we've already put into it. Now, when we built this, we put a lot of money up into the front there. All the brick, the walls, the landscaping. That was significant for the corridor itself. Transparency was a huge thing that the town wanted for that.
So the cost would be extremely a lot for you to do it, and it would be better for you if you could use it for this particular purpose, correct?
This, correct.
Okay, thank you.
So let me just say, going back to what you asked, you wouldn't tear the entire building down. If you tore the back half down and created a 70-foot distance, because that's what a typical smaller retail box would be, that would be 3,000 to 5,000, 3,000 to 10,000 square feet. We gave you those construction numbers. It's about $4.5 million to tear the back of the building down, create a 70-foot depth of the building, and then subdivide it into storefronts, like you're talking about, to create this village type feel, right? It's cost prohibitive. By the time you spend all that money, you've got to get $30 or $40 a foot to pay for all the construction. You can't get that in that market. Exactly. You might be able to in Pittsford, but not here.
Yeah, and the code for this, this section has setback requirements and regulations that the building just can't comply, even if you were to reconfigure the building. It'll never comply with the DMU zoning.
Let's do the numbers on the return on this property since purchase till today's date.
We did not,
I mean, you just did it from the time period that the tenant left, but what's been the return on the property?
yeah, because we've looked at, so part of the discussion prior to the submission is that we're not asking for the use variance for the frontage lots. We're specifically only requesting it for the large building because it is this large pre-existing non-conforming building that really is the hardship. The frontage buildings conform to the DMU zoning. So we didn't include, so it makes it very complicated with the tenants coming and going and
You're gonna
moving
say it,
to
but
generate
you
that data.
That's a great question, Counselor, but here's what I can tell you about this particular piece of property. I got
Sinatra song coming up.
I got 4.5 million, I think, in existing debt on here right now, so you can figure that out, what that is a month, and obviously, the interest rates have clicked a couple times because, you know,
All I wanna know is what, from 2012 to today.
I don't think we've ever taken any money out of this property, we've only built equity based upon. I don't think we've taken any money, we don't really do that, that's not how we operate. We take money out when we have
So
events,
you take the money and
waterfalls.
you reinvest it into the property.
Correct. I think we spent over $8 million in this originally.
And how much money's got to be put into this to convert it to the self-storage?
That's the self-storage operator does that. That's the beauty of it. That's why you get a bona fide operator. Now, we may have to put some tenant improvement money, give them some TIs now. That's kind of up in the air. They've kind of gone so far right now because of we need a variance. And if we are successful in getting the variance, that'll come to light. I don't know how much we'll have to give them. We may do some work, but we haven't got that far because they haven't got any farther.
We gotta see those financials, the whole property financials, not just the, you can't just separate the building. Right? It's the whole parcel we're talking about here.
No, you have them.
Not what I asked for.
No,
He wants-
he's, so that's a very complicated analysis to do
Yeah, I
because,
know it is.
well, I'll say
That's
that
what I'm
because
talking
it's not a single, if it was a single building on a single parcel, it's much easier to give you the numbers on a yearly basis. But we have tenants coming in, tenants going out, rents changing. And we specifically are not asking for a variance for those frontage parcels and do not claim that those are part of the, I mean, they contribute to the hardship only to the extent that code compliant development has created visual obstructions and it impacts the property as a whole. But we have separated them out even though they're on the same parcel.
So when you say you want the financials, a P&L, it's like,
2012 to today, what the return's been on the property. You bought the property for $2.25 million, right? What's been coming in, what's been going on? What's been a reasonable return?
With all due respect, we've
They
given
gotta
you
see
a
what
year's
reasonable
worth of
return is, and they
information,
gotta
which,
make that determination based on what's been coming in and what's going out, right? That's part of this analysis.
well, no, because there's no, well, I should say this. There is no set requirement on the number of years that we have to demonstrate. I have never had a variance, a use variance, and I've done dozens of use variances, probably a dozen of them in this town.
Okay.
I have never had to produce data going back to 2012 for any
I'm just trying to
property
figure out
ever.
What the
I mean,
reasonable rate of
typically, a
return would
year
be.
of
You
vacancy
go
and
one
efforts to
year
market the
after
property
vacancy
is
occurred after
sufficient.
1 year. I'm trying to, they gotta make a determination, right?
I understand that, but the vacancy isn't just some random tenant situation moving out. This is a reflection of the fact that the tenant that has been the anchor to this property, much like the mall situation, they've lost the anchor and there aren't other anchors to fill the property. And they are in a desperate situation created by these particular vacancies.
I'm just trying to give them something
So.
to base this on. You know what I mean? They gotta base this on a reasonable rate of return. They gotta base it upon whether or not it's self-created.
The question is whether the property can, whether the property is
You're
the,
giving them 1 year, what
Correct.
are you giving them?
right, and I can go back a couple of years, but the
At least
issue
give them
is,
something
the
besides
question
1 year.
is not whether the property has generated a reasonable return since 2012. The question is, can the property generate a reasonable return, rate of return for permitted uses? Can it generate? So we're looking at the actual current conditions and what the market conditions are currently and whether it can generate a reasonable return. Okay?
Yeah.
The fact that the market was good in 2012 doesn't change the fact that today it is
Well, I'm
not.
trying to get it, they need something more than just 1 year, right? Just a 1 year.
Not necessarily. You're telling me that's your opinion.
Well,
that's your
my
request.
opinion. It's up to- Obviously, get to the board, but I'm trying to give something to hang their hat on.
I've never honestly, and.
Well, you also are saying that it's not self-created at all.
Well, it's
Which I
not.
find kind of.
If the tenants
interesting
didn't
when you
leave,
got
then
the
we-
restrictions
So-
that were signed in the deed that they
Okay.
knew about when they purchased the property.
Every single variance, whether use or area, any variance you get always has some element of self-creation. The
Correct.
reation I have to address
But
and
the
explain
use
the
variance
aspects of it that are
automatically
not
dial
self,
on the use, right?
it's based on the way you're looking at it. Anytime, so if they bought this property 50 years ago, are you going to say it's self-created? You're not. At some point, it's not self-creation. It's a result of the only thing, the fact that they own the property, obviously they closed on the property, but the things that cause the hardship are not of their creation. They are of the market. They're of the change of the retailers that are out there, the potential tenants. The property is marketed aggressively. It's the changes in the marketplace. It's the challenges of the property. The property wasn't challenging to rent out in 2012. They had big lots. They had an anchor. They were able to go to the bank, get financing, close this deal, work with the town to develop this frontage retail that the town desperately wanted at the time and make something of it. Conditions have changed. The fact that it was, I don't know if it generated a return in 2012. It doesn't sound like it, but let's say it did. That would not preclude the fact that today in this market, under the current situation, they cannot generate a reasonable return on investment. Not just them, but if tomorrow somebody else owned the property, they also could not generate a return if they bought the property for what has been invested. I've given you the cost to take this property and put in there, put in 10,000 square foot tenants, like a $5 million investment. That doesn't take into account that they've already put in $6 or $7 million. $7 million investment plus a $5 million investment, the numbers don't add up.
Look, I wouldn't even be here asking for this if I haven't exhausted every angle. I'm out of covenant. The only reason why the bank's not coming there is because my balance sheet and everything I do and the relationship that I have with them. I'm gonna have to do something. I gotta do something to get this property stabilized.
I'm just trying to give them information, that's all.
It's,
Go ahead, Charles. I don't mean to cut you off.
No problem. Let me do a little transition here because we're kind of going down the same path and we appreciate your answers and all your, and the information that you provided. I'm a little bit concerned with the use that's being proposed because there's a reason why that particular use is not in the code for this area. Now, you notice that there's quite a few residents in that. It's basically a residential area across the street, all down Britton Road. I lived on Britton Road at one point in my life. Used to walk to this Wegmans when it was a Wegmans, so I'm very familiar with the area. And to have people coming in, at all hours at these self-storage places with lights and traffic and all that kind of thing and also the fact that you already admitted, and we know that there's high crime in the area. So, I mean, breaking into some of these storage facilities, if they're breaking into a Big Lot.
I got this one. I disagree with that 100%, because I'm going to tell you right now, these things are highly securitized. They're well run. You had a Goodwill donation center that we got developed over there. They were dropping clothes off there all night long.
Okay.
You got 100 homeless people over there. I have the cops in there every other day. This is more secure use than anything that we've already had there. So I totally disagree with that.
More
And I
secure
don't.
than office spaces or anything like that? or a school?
Office? I don't like, office? I don't even think office is a market out there right now, especially in Rochester, New
I'm
York.
just throwing it out there, some of the things that are
I mean,
acceptable.
This honestly fixes my crime problem down there.
Hold on. Just so we're on the same page, Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
These generate maybe 4 or 5 trips a day on average. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
There's not a lot of traffic going.
Not a lot of traffic.
There's no
But the
traffic and
question
lots of
is,
security.
If this is gonna go through, what restrictions are placed on it? Obviously, where the doors are gonna be, how access is gonna be done. Those are information that's supposed to be provided.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you got that.
Everything's gonna be inside.
This is a totally 150%. And by the way, right now, once a week breaking in over there, people. I'm there every week.
I bet.
Okay.
I know.
I tell the
I know
police
the
department,
area.
I don't get
That's
any.
why I moved
Where
out.
the access would be if it goes through. I'm assuming it's all front door, and you have certain areas.
So,
Okay.
yes, they were just gonna
Yeah,
use
that's
the
all.
front doors. They're gonna use 2 sections of the building. We've asked for the variance for the whole building because, over time, there's one tenant there. That one tenant has another 4 years. Nobody's trying to get them out, but the likelihood of securing, another tenant in
CLS.
space will be challenging.
No one's saying CLS is gonna leave, but if they do leave, it would make sense just to convert the rest of the space. I think you'll have more traffic at Walmart and in the plaza than you would
But I
at
mean,
this center.
like, will there be specific hours that people can, bring up? Are they gonna be able to come?
So
in the
there will be an
middle of the night?
office. There's a leasing office. It will be
Right,
open
but what if
office
you wanna,
hours.
wanna access your storage, like if you're.
Right, there's very low traffic. They have 3 or 4 people, per day. They actually have,
Open
24 hours.
Yes, it
it's
is.
not, it is,
Okay.
it is accessible. I wouldn't say it's open.
When I say open, I mean, can a person go in 24/7?
Correct. So the
Right.
way, I will tell you how it works. So you get an individual code that you, on your cell phone, that you use to access the building, so they actually track your movement in the building. And you're restricted as to where you can move inside the building. There are cameras, there's 24-hour cameras and oversight and management available 24 hours a day.
Did they not
When you
convert
enter,
this?
when you leave, I
did they-
know that, I know.
Did they not convert the Sears at the mall to
Yep.
a storage? Is there high crime over there?
It's high crime before that. There's a lot of high crime.
But I mean, inside the self-storage unit,
No, I'm saying-
I don't think there is. I mean,
think
it's,
they're more secure.
they're building these because they're very secure and safe. They're monitored, there's cameras.
I'm not arguing, I was just proposing a question because it's very
That's
close
Well,
to a residential.
I will say that for a residential neighborhood, it's actually more protective of the neighborhood because there's no activity in the back of, they will have no activity. There will be no impact on them whatsoever. It's not, there's no smells, there's
All
no
right, that's
noise,
good.
no traffic, there's no access from the back of the building.
So the access is gonna be from the front.
The access is from the front.
I would say honestly, based on what you just brought up, the Sears being converted, it actually looks like it's still vacant. I mean, it's cleaned up, but it looks like it's not being used. And that's the only downside, I think, is that it looks like an empty building over there at the mall. There's really rarely any cars there even. So, and I'm not saying that this as an objection, I'm just saying it as an observation. It's almost like the other end of the pendulum swing. where- Right.
Which is
So,
good.
That part of it, yeah.
yeah, there's no conditions with the tenant as far as occupancy rate, like if they don't reach a certain level of
No,
occupancy, they're out.
no. We're just plain and simply coming up with a redactive of use here. And from retail perspectives across the country, nationally, this is the thing, this is what's happening. There is no more retail. Amazon took half the retail away from everybody, so.
Would you continue to market the small, look at your plans, it still look like you had a future site retail on the north side on English Road,
That's behind the well now.
by well.
And we were gonna originally do a bank kiosk there. That was the intent there. We've done them all. We've tried them there. We had,
You're still open for, if something.
we've marketed that. We do it in a minute. I tried to get 7 Brew to go there.
And same thing with the other, behind the old, where Goodwill is now on the south side. If something would occur, or something would happen, you would put something there on the,
To be quite honest with Goodwill, is short term. What do you got? 2 years? Yeah. I can't, AT&T would not renew there. It was too, they just,
That's bad when a phone company won't renew.
And I can tell you that the rent from AT&T was paying $4,100 in rent, and they had to make a deal to get Goodwill into that corner. They paid $2,800, $2,000 less a month for that corner, just to fill that space.
Well, we've kind of covered a lot of ground here tonight, and we understand where the developer's at. But most of your emphasis has all been on retail. Do you have a comprehensive list of all the different people that you brought to that site that you couldn't get in there that fit all the uses that are required for this board to look at?
I
For
can give,
example, medical, Ridge Road East, for example, a lot of space backfilled with medical. Have you talked to medical people about this?
I've talked to RGH and U of R. There was no demand in this area for a site at this time. Doesn't mean they wouldn't come back later, but at this time, no. And I have RGH as a tenant, so I have a very close relationship with them.
Can you bring them in if there's already a restriction on the property or not? You already
They didn't have any, I didn't know, I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't know about the restriction until tonight.
The medical, if they had a medical user, he didn't know about it. They could have approached, it's not a deed restriction, and the way the lease is written, they could approach well now if they had a medical use. They just don't have a medical use.
We have the U of R and 500,000 square feet.
So it's
And
not
our-
a restriction to a new tenant if you're able to get one, that's what I'm saying.
They have vague language to try to keep out competitors,
All
right?
So something that's
But
more in line with what they do is.
If they also, the way the lease is written, there's some room that they could, if they could get
You got
medical, they
wiggle
could
room,
have gotten
is what I'm trying to
medical.
say.
Yeah, I would go
You got wiggle room on this one, if you have a tenant showed up for
If
that.
they had a tenant, they could work with well now. They
Yeah,
have to
what
see
usually
they want.
happens is you go to the tenant, you say, hey, I've got somebody, and they say, okay, reduce our rent or give us free rent, and you
That's why I
negotiate,
said
you know?
wiggle room, yeah.
I talked with Wegmans real estate people, and Frank did too, both, about trying to get the deed restriction. They just said, hey, Danny's not gonna do it. You know, it's just the way it is. And Ralph's my neighbor, although he's retired now, but.
Well, I know that there's been some developers very creative, including yourself, because you've done some pretty fantastic things with some buildings to convert them. But if you were to make these depths 70 feet and cut a road right in the middle of the building so that the back of the building you could use for storage, where you'd have a ring road in there, and the front you would have retail, which would still keep it consistent. Have you looked at the numbers to see if there's any possibility of not demolishing the entire building, just cutting the building to make it work?
Before I could do anything, I would have to get permission from my lender. To get permission from the lender, I'd have to have a pro forma that made sense, or I'd have to come up with the equity to do that, right? I don't have a tenant. I have no credit instrument. I've lost my credit instrument to be able to do that. Sure, it would make sense if we could get the right rents, and we could definitely get creative and do something like that. But in this particular situation, we're bringing a tenant for the vacant square footage that we have, that it's not going to be a home run, but it's going to satisfy the lender, and it's going to satisfy stabilizing the property. And hopefully we can keep the rest of the tenants out in the front. So it's just too expensive, the cost to do that without having to be able to show we can afford the cost. I don't see how we can do that.
But you haven't tried to market it that way yet.
I don't know how we would.
I don't know how. Excuse me one second. I don't know. The building's 225 feet deep, right?
Right.
So you go back 70 feet, you gotta put 60 feet in for a road now. So now you're at 130. You have to build a wall here, and then where is it gonna come out? Is it coming out on the other side? It just,
Right straight through the building, so it would be a pass-through.
you can't, because you've got a tenant here, CLS Blood Lab, goes right through the middle of the building right here. So
And is
you've got big lots here, 9,000 square feet vacant here, CLS here, and then Goodwill. So you couldn't go through the CLS space, they're definitely not gonna let you put a road through the middle of their flood lab. Although maybe you could do a drive-through flood lab. I've never seen one, but maybe we can create it. But the point is, I've seen it done. Actually, the Simon Property Group did it in Indiana. Herb Simon's first mall. He bought 4 buildings and he enclosed it and had the road go right through. I
Yeah,
did see it happen, but it can't happen here.
So what happens to the blood lab if the storage goes in?
Nothing, so the storage would go on these 2 spaces here, and this space here, they wouldn't be connected. So they'd have a space here, and then they'd have a space here, and CLS would still remain.
but you could relocate CLS into one of the smaller spaces. And different configuration, I won't say
They don't
smaller.
have relocation language in their lease. It was a great thought.
It's
We thought about
doable. It's doable, though. You could talk to them about it.
it. We'd have to talk to them and see if they would agree to it. That'd be a cost, so that's gonna be a big expense.
Here's the next question. Is this agreement that you have with this, is it a national organization? I don't want to know the name. Is it for the whole building or is it for part of the building? Because
Every vacant space.
I mean, I'm not telling the board to do, you guys do what you want to do, but you can also do it for part of the building, not the whole building too.
It won't, respectfully, it won't work. They need a critical mass. That's like the 65,000 is like the smallest amount. I'm doing a deal in Henrietta right now that's 105,000 square feet. And they're telling me that's not big enough. They need to add another 18,000 square feet outside. Very similar use. There's a critical mass in when they do
Well,
these
you're not gonna have the
projects.
whole building anyways, because you got a business in there already.
No, but they need the square footage, it's the 65,000 square feet. And that just meets the threshold, because they did ask about outside storage, and we said, don't even think about it, it's not gonna happen here. So that 65 is really the number, the smallest number that they can use to make the number.
They're iffy right there. That's why I really haven't gone farther with them, you know.
Well, I'm not opposed to the storage. I think the storage would work. There's no question about it. Question is, can we accept what they've given us as the requirement for this board to decide that they've met that test? And,
That's your call.
but I'm not sure
I
that,
drove Betsy Newton, not enough as it was tonight.
yeah. Well, it's not a
I'm
question
going to
of-
point out, I didn't go through Mike's entire letter, because
We got the letter.
well, the questions are, did you mark it for this? Did you mark it for that? They literally have marketed it with no restrictions. They would have entertained any viable use of the property.
Let me just give you just a little bit of background. We own and manage 12 million square feet that I oversee. It's office, it's industrial, it's retail, it's all segments of real estate. At FLOM, we run 95% occupied all the time. One of the reasons is we don't leverage our properties. But the point is, I'm trying to make is that we have relationships in every one of those segments. And I've explored all of those segments in trying to help Frank re-tenant this building. Retail, office, industrial, whatever the use was, we've explored it. And we don't, when you get this far, and I grew up in Greece. I grew up right by Russell Station. I shopped at all these places for 57 years. My mother took me to Star Market and Loblaws and all those places. So I know the area, it's not new to me. We're in an isolated area. You can go 2 miles north and you hit the lake, and that's the end of critical mass as far as population base. And then when you start to go south, you're fighting with Ridge Road, the mall, Long Pond. And if you start to go west, you're fighting with this great area out here that's being redeveloped. This is an area that's changed. I worked with the town 10 years ago when we were working on the Dewey corridor at Stone and Dewey. And nothing's changed in 10 years, maybe 15 years, It's just the market is shifted. It's an older market. It's tough to get those larger retailers to come to this. The one thing I will say about storage though, Chris, real quick, they did the study. This came back 8 out of 10 for an occupancy because of the critical mass of people that are in the area. It deems to be very successful for a climate-controlled storage.
No matter what still happens, you're still on. Got a question.
Yes.
Hold on, big guy. I'm talking to myself. You're still on minimal relief.
Yep.
So whole idea of let's do the whole building, you're on minimal relief no matter what. Don't even start, Betsy. 'cause-
No, I am going to, because we are asking for the minimum relief necessary. We are not proposing to remove the plasma. We will try to
You're
keep
asking
them
for
there.
The whole building is what I'm saying.
We are, because it's the financial hardship of the building that we are discussing.
But
The
they-
building does not generate
but they-
any return on investment, zero.
You still have a tenant in there.
And we're losing money with the tenant there, correct?
You're kicking the tenant out.
But we are not kicking the tenant
You have
out.
4 more years on his lease.
If you would like
And
to
they've got
put a
options.
condition that we will not take action to remove the tenant, I think that is agreeable. We are not looking, we will not take any actions to remove that tenant.
We're not, we've exhausted this thing. But, you know, I have this is a bad situation.
They still have to follow the law, so. you gotta-
Correct. But I will say the board has discretion to determine what is the minimum
And
relief.
it has a right to put restrictions on.
Correct. And I'm just asking that we have reasonable restrictions.
When you offer that as a restriction, that's agreeable.
It is, we would agree, I kind of offer that without saying, but there's no intent to remove any active tenant. We're not.
They have 4 years with 2 or 3 5-year options, so they're not going anywhere anytime soon, I'm sure. Unless they chose not, unless they chose it
Well,
themselves.
that's what I'm saying.
We don't have the right to
They-
terminate
they
their
have a
lease.
minimal relief requirement, so they can say,
Correct.
okay, this amount of square footage of the building.
So I guess what I would propose is the area occupied by the Plaza, CSL, thank you. CL, the plasma business. I'm dyslexic about this, sorry.
Plasma TV business.
Yes, right.
See, you're so fired up, I'm just loving it right now.
So we have, I think the reasonable condition would be, should that tenant vacate, which the property owner is not seeking, will not actively pursue, I mean, as long as they are in accordance with their lease in the property, we're not going to kick them out to turn it into self-storage. But should they leave, should they go out of business, something like that, that the variance would apply to the entire building.
Would you have to, would there have to be something with the agreement with the company doing the self-storage that they would agree once that spot is vacated that they would take? So right now you got the.
We could ask, I mean, we never asked that question, but we could ask it, sure.
I mean, if all of a sudden they, you know, whatever happens, the contract in 4 years, they're out, and you have storage here and storage here. Now, they don't renew their contract in 4 years, now you have a vacant spot there.
Hold on a second, just so I'm clear too. You're just bringing a management company in to run a self-storage unit that you own, or are they gonna own it? Are they leasing the space or are they managing?
We're gonna lease the space from them.
So you're leasing it to a national company,
They manage it and operate it and develop it.
all right, so you're leasing it, you're not running it, and they're not.
No.
I just wanted to clarify.
Might even sell it to them. If you wanna buy it.
For how much?
For the right price.
8 million.
I just didn't know if, are you gonna be in this boat for 4 years when you have storage here, you got a vacant?
Well, remember, they've got 4 years, but they've got options, so they can choose. If their business is good, they're not gonna leave. And we don't have the right to tell them they leave at the end of that option. If for some reason they left and this is performing exceptionally well, they may very well want to take the space. I wouldn't see why they wouldn't. But that's a predict, right? We're predicting.
You can, I mean,
Right.
it's just, yeah.
Right now, we're here trying to get this thing stable. And we've exhausted so many resources and avenues.
Get both sides.
Gone through a lot of
And I will
people.
say, the granting of the variance does not preclude them from,
Still
if
finding-
something works out in the future, if they find a code compliant tenant, they certainly would entertain that.
Tom, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just curious, this tenant, if this were to go through, what would be the lease term? Are we looking at a long-term?
Oh, very long.
Okay.
They got some big investment.
They're putting, it'll cost them millions to build this.
I'm assuming they're waiting to see what happens here before they sign a lease.
Correct.
Yes.
So what happens if they walk?
I keep marketing it or I get fired, one of the two. I'll give you a choice.
Answer.
And I would say that the plasma space, it still has the issues, that the rest of the building has. It just happens that it currently has a tenant. The tenant's been in there a while, and they happen to have a long-term lease.
We hear what you're saying. We hear that you're marketed heavily to retail. Still can't get it out of my head that right next door, another developer cleans the whole site, puts the retail in there, and it's 95% occupied.
Walmart, well, you've got a Walmart as an anchor. It's a nice thing to have. And I could tell you that when I first started working on this property, Planet Fitness approached us about moving, and I talked to them for 7 months, and they decided they weren't moving. They were staying right where they were. That was the only real, that was the only, they were gonna move. That was the only real live tenant that we actually had that I spent 6 months with that said they would come over, and at the end of the day, they just decided to stay right where they were.
Football, baseball.
You can't put in a multi.
Yeah, it's 17-foot ceilings, is not gonna be good for soccer.
And they can't pay the rent.
I'm stuck with 2 end caps. I got a tenant in the middle. Where am I going? I got a loading dock on one side that was set up for a grocery store that Big Lots was using, right? So, I mean,
This is good.
The
That's
utilities aren't.
this
They're
is
gonna have to go-
adaptive.
If something goes through, it's gotta go through the planning board anyway, so they're assuming they're gonna change the exterior of the building.
No, they're not touching the exterior at all.
Significant changes.
They're gonna enclose put garage doors in on the north side of the building.
Multiple garage doors for entrances.
They're there now. They're gonna close them so people can load and unload inside, not outside.
Over where the loading dock is?
Yes, sir. Yep.
This is just an adaptive
It's
reuse.
minimal change to the building.
No, I'm just trying to figure out what they're gonna do with the outside of the building.
They're not gonna touch the facade at all,
So
the outside.
Loading docks on both the north and south side were.
Yes.
used.
I don't know, fencing, like, is there, what kind of fencing is on there
We
now?
need fencing.
In your opinion,
No, but
There's fencing along the rear, and then there's a lot of plantings,
Okay.
quite a few plantings on both sides.
They put in a berm in fencing when they got.
I'm curious, can you even envision a use that could mitigate the crime concerns any better than
Storage.
this one? No, I'm asking.
When he said that to you, I am not,
Or
these
any
things
other
are,
uses
these
that be
things
able
are
to
so
overcome.
highly securitized. And so it's like, right, I mean, it's so
No, I
technologically.
know that, I'm not asking about that, I'm saying that can you envision any other uses that would be able to mitigate those concerns?
I don't,
Compared to this.
listen, I guess I would say if you go back to retail, that's where the most theft occurs, right? In retail centers. Why? Because that's where the valuable items are. This is not an exposed area. You're not bringing people in to shop. They're not sticking it in their pocket or grabbing it and running out the door like Macy's or, any one of the other stores. This is a different type of use. You've got to come through a secure area. You have to actually have a code to get into the building. And then there's cameras throughout the building. So it's,
So for the
So
board,
could we-
you gotta be
so-
careful with speculation. You really can't speculate. But this generates all 4 or 5 trips a day on an average for self-storage. It doesn't-
yeah, even if it was 10 or 12, it's still a lot less than,
It's not that much.
Yeah, but a
Right.
use like this, I mean, beyond, not to speculate, but does a use like this actually, I'm not sure that you could say improve, but does it help the neighborhood have a use for the property that doesn't draw crime? I mean, or could we extrapolate that this? is
well,
actually-
I mean, you're going to have less traffic, which would mean less crime. You're going to have less traffic, so there'll be less crime. There's nothing to steal there, right? Versus going to Walmart and I'm not trying to single out Walmart, but going to the plaza next door with all the retailers, I'm sure the theft occurs quite often there. There's nothing to steal here
Right.
that are storing. You got to break into the building, then you got to break into a steel secured area.
We're talking about identifying a very specific use in this
Right.
change of use, this specific use.
I think it would
Can we actually?
create a
look at
safer
as
environment.
Creating an improvement for the neighborhood, because
That's a
right
good point.
now, there's crime.
That's a good
And
point.
So this is what happens right now with the maintenance. They smash the windows and the doors every week. They go in there, they go in the bathrooms, they wreck the place and they sit there. When Goodwill was there, people will walk in, take a cart and walk out the door. And Goodwill people go, what am I gonna do? I can't touch them. I can't do anything. Now you got a storage building that's built for security, for purposes of that, highly technologically advanced when it comes to camera system. You can't even go past your unit. If you go past your unit, they'll know. They know where you go and where you're supposed to be. That's how they control.
You don't want anyone stealing your stuff.
Now, I assume you're under confidentiality, but does CSL have any,
There's no restriction with CL.
comments, you know?
They don't have any say in this.
They don't have
No,
any say.
it's not, there's nothing in their lease that would preclude this from allowing it to happen.
Do we have any other community or input from the town on this? No?
No, but I think what we need to do is kind of bring this home.
Yep.
And I think we're falling short, Betsy, on 1 year's worth of losses. I think the board's got to see at least 5 years to show how this is not working for the developer. I also think you need to provide us with a list of serious people that you tried to bring to the site to show us that you reached out to MCC, that you reached out to U of R, that you reached out to whoever you reached out to.
Okay.
To show us, because right now, we got 2 fancy flyers that says office available and it's a good place for retail, but you really haven't given us a list. Telling us that LoopNet and all these other things are tools that you're using, but why couldn't you get people to make a deal here? What were the reasons why? So that we can understand better that this isn't gonna work.
Do you have anything that's like a floor plan of what this would, where the entrances are, what it would look like, so the board would be a little more comfortable with something like this too, or not?
A floor plan of what?
Not, just the frontage where the entrance would be, what it would look like.
Nothing's changing,
You said they're adding garage doors and stuff.
just
like
on the
that.
side. We could provide that.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
asking. So
yeah,
they have
we
a
can get you
general
those.
idea where
You
it's
want
going.
a site plan?
I don't want you to go full.
Oh, he wants an elevation. Yeah, we have them.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could provide
Don't
those.
spend money on this like that right now.
We could provide those.
You will be later on.
Makes sense.
Is there anything else any of the board wants on it?
Just a list of, Mr. Plummer can provide a list of all the individuals and the financials. I think that's,
Yeah.
for me, it's.
So you saw my P and L for the last 5 years, and you want balance sheet, or what do you, I'll give.
Yeah, I think that's what they want. They just need
I
someone to
don't think I
hang
have
their hat on, I
2012, I'll be honest. That's about my idea, I don't know. if
It sounds like you've got all the information, they just want them to just provide it.
So I just want to emphasize the fact that, you know, the loss of big, it's not like losing, like you've lost like 3 pizza shops and why don't you replace them with 3 more widget stores? You know, the loss of an anchor that can't be replaced is a huge, huge hit to this property.
Look, I lost,
Give them 5 years, let's go with that.
I lost
I'll
3
see what
blocks
we
on
can get you.
Jefferson Road, right? 30,000 square feet, Jefferson Road. I still haven't backfilled it. We haven't leased it yet.
Wow, that's a big space.
And give them just a general idea of how this facility would work.
That we can give you.
Yeah,
We can give you some information. So we're going to get you some information on how the self-storage would operate, like you want a floor plan, a visual, some kind of visual.
Some visual.
We have.
Okay, we're going to get you a list of whoever's looked at the property, the market, a little more information on the marketing efforts. And we'll get you some more financials. We'll see if we have 5
Yeah,
years.
sure, she'll tell you, a use variance, they gotta have something meets.
I know, but you know what? It's interesting because it's not a classic, simple use variance. It's not a building.
There's some other
That's
things in there
different.
too that we gotta get around, but yeah.
So,
It sounds like these storage facilities have come a long way in the last, since I've
Yeah.
worked on the job. 5 years
but I guess
ago.
I'm going to say, putting
Yeah,
aside what we're proposing, the financial hardship of the property, so much of it really hinges on the fact that they've tried to make the best possible use of basically an empty Wegmans building. And to find those kind of anchors, they had that anchor a couple of years ago. They've had them since 2012. But it's a big hit to lose the big anchors. And they're not replaceable like they used to be.
And they've had 9,500 square feet vacant since the day they started.
With your knowledge of retail in the Walmart Plaza, What would you say the typical retail rents are going for there?
With Walmart in the center, 12 to 14, maybe a little more.
And
Maybe.
And you're claiming that you're marketing it at 12?
We were 8 to 12.
They were going
We were 8 to 12. We offered PF, Planet Fitness, an $8 deal.
What are they paying for over there?
I don't know what they're paying. They didn't give
There's
us
no way
the
for you to find out
information.
either, I know.
But they also wanted $1 million too.
So do I, but I don't get that either.
You sure?
Well, again, for the record, I'm not opposed to the use. It's just that we've got to
We
meet
gotta
the
make sure we
test.
meet the.
Right. Understood.
We've got to meet the test. That we don't get in, as Betsy will attest to, many use variances. And probably the hardest thing to prove to the board here would be a use variance. We just got to make sure that we've got enough that the developer's given us.
I would make one point though. I don't think this was self-created. We didn't kick the tenants out. One went bankrupt and one moved to the mall, so.
That's not the issue.
No, I know. I'm just saying though, it's not like we created this, those do happen. It didn't happen in this case, so.
Well, at some point, self-storage is going to go by the wayside. I don't know whether it's 10 years out, 30
I think
years out, or
it's
wherever.
20 to 30 years, the way they're investing, the way these private equity companies are investing in climate controlled storage, it's probably 20 to 30 years out.
This is going to talk about, should be climate control.
Yes, well, it's air conditioned, so yeah,
I think you should realize that we've had, 3 big significant changes in the retail world. One, we had the big blue strike come in, then we had COVID, right? And the retailers that did not have good balance sheets going into COVID did not fare well. The QSRs fared well because we opened up the drive-thrus and the little restaurants, and they fared well, right? That's really what's
Well, I
happening.
think what he's telling you, he's not totally opposed to this. He just make sure there's enough information in the record.
good. Dot our i's and cross our t's and give you enough information. We
Not to
appreciate
cut
that.
you off, but,
That's fair. I just,
because Betsy's on the clock. She's gonna hit 9 o'clock, sir, and you're leaving. She goes time and a half after 9. See that, did you?
But we have to put it in the record.
I grew up working with protege, so.
Oh,
See, when I came here in 2012, I was in high school, so.
well, yeah.
How long will it take you to get this together? Our next meeting is July 7.
We will make your next meeting. We'll make the next meeting.
You can do it?
Probably a week or so, I'll have it on, whatever.
Thank you.
Excellent.
But you're gonna you'll forward it on.
What is it?
You'll forward it all on.
We'll get it.
Any
If there's
other,
anything else we think of, we'll be able to have Lisa forward it to Betsy.
You know where to find me.
yeah, and
Get
from
your
the
blood pressure started.
town's point of view,
Just go to the well now.
I need to get some plasma.
Chris
Gotta go to
asked,
the well now, here, some, let's go to get it.
Chris asked about the planning board. The changes that they want to make to the building, should this go to the planning board anyways?
Okay, I'll ask. I would.
Just send it to Johnny Caterino, I'll have to take a look. When you send it, we'll let Johnny Caterino look at just the ideas you have and see if that's what a planning board to.
We could do that.
Well, you may not have a choice. So, it could be just an internal thing too. Might be the minor improvements.
To be honest with you, the use variance is the big hurdle, so
Yeah.
we're here first, and depending on, this gets reviewed out by the whole department over there, so.
Yeah, that's what they'll do. So you send them that too, the little plan.
I don't know.
All right, anything else on this? Anything else we need?
Motion.
Well, it's a good plan that they've got. We just got to be sure that we can act on it. You got anything else you want?
I think we're good.
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
3
July.
weeks.
3,
July
weeks.
3, July 7.
July 7.
Ringo Starr's birthday for anyone who's.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. that's-
All right, then I'll take a motion to continue until July 7.
Yep, so moved.
Second, Mr. DiCamillo, any discussion? Hearing none, Melanie, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. DiCamillo?
Yes.
Ms. Sandriano?
Yes.
Mr. Harwig?
Yes.
Mr. Jensen?
Yes.
Chairman Miludis?
Yes, the application remains open. We'll hear it again on July 7.
Thank you very much. Nice job, guys.
Thank you.
Do we have any other information that we need?
No.
Then we stand adjourned.
Right?
Maybe it's time.
We are now.
Put the team. Okay.
Yeah, I figured it was gonna go. I was hoping 8:30, but. Yeah, those are tough though. That was, but I good job. Yeah, I did a pretty good job. Oh, yeah, looks like we're still on. I thought.